The night had. Elon Musk sat behind the wheel of the black Tesla Model S, smoothly navigating the narrow streets of a residential neighborhood. The night had already enveloped the city, with only a few streetlights piercing the darkness with their yellowish glow. The rain pattered softly against the glass, and the wipers rhythmically swept the droplets away. He was wearing a gray hoodie with the hood pulled over his head, looking like an ordinary man out for a late-night drive. On the passenger seat was an old leather bag, with a laptop sticking out of it. Elon was thinking about a new project, trying to piece together fragments of ideas while the autopilot confidently steered the car through the rain. Suddenly, a bright light appeared behind him. Blue and red lights flashed in the side mirrors, blinding them. A short siren followed. Elon sighed and pressed the brakes, carefully stopping at the side of the road. In the mirror, he saw a police car, and a tall man in dark uniform stepped out. The officer, about 30, with sharp features and a serious expression, approached the car and tapped on the window. Elon pressed a button, and the windows smoothly lowered. "Good evening, sir. Driver's license and vehicle documents, please," the officer said dryly. His badge glinted in the headlights, Officer Hunt. Elon tilted his head slightly, a bit surprised. "Is something wrong?" His voice was calm, even somewhat reflective. Officer Hunt maintained a cold expression. "You were driving at 45 miles per hour in a zone where the limit is 35. Also, your car swerved several times out of its lane. Have you been drinking?" Elon raised an eyebrow. "No, I don't drink." Hunt scrutinized the man in the hoodie. His appearance didn't raise suspicion. He looked like a typical IT guy or engineer. But the officer was wary of the car. A Tesla Model S wasn't rare, but this particular model had some non-standard settings, and the license plate seemed new. "Please step out of the vehicle," Hunt ordered, not taking his eyes off Elon. Elon rolled his eyes. "Do we really have to do this?" "Step out of the vehicle," Hunt's voice grew firmer. Elon sighed, opened the door, and stepped out, pulling the hood over his head. The rain immediately hit his face, and he flinched a little. Hunt stepped closer and looked more carefully at the man. "Your ID." Elon ran his hand through the hoodie pocket but didn't find his ID. "I think I left it at home." Hunt's eyes narrowed. "Your full name?" Elon held back a smile. "Elon." "Full name, please." "Elon Musk." Hunt let out a slight grunt. "Really? You think I'm going to believe that?" Elon barely contained a laugh. "Honestly, people don't believe me often." Hunt stepped back a bit, eyeing him from under the brim of his cap. "If you don't provide the documents, I'll have to detain you on suspicion of vehicle theft." "Seriously?" Elon raised an eyebrow. "You don't have documents for the car, no driver's license, and you're calling yourself Elon Musk. This looks like a pretty bad lie," Hunt said, raising his radio to his mouth. "Central, I have a possible vehicle theft here." "Oh, not this." Elon mumbled. "Put your hands on the hood," Hunt ordered. "Seriously?" Elon sighed and, seeing the officer's serious expression, slowly raised his hands. Officer Hunt stepped closer and grabbed his arm when suddenly the radio crackled. "Central, confirming the license plate. The vehicle is registered to Elon Musk. Repeat, this is Elon Musk's car." Hunt froze. He looked closely at the man in the hoodie. Elon tilted his head with a slight smile. "Told you." The officer stepped back, but his face remained stern. "That doesn't prove anything. If this is your car, why don't you have the documents?" "I left them at home, just like my ID." "I didn't expect to be pulled over tonight for speeding by 10 miles, Elon said softly, but there was a hint of sarcasm in his voice. "And yet, you were speeding," Hunt's voice remained cold. Elon raised his hands. "You're absolutely right. If it helps, I'll pay the fine." Officer Hunt slowly lowered his hand from the radio, but didn't look away. His professional instinct told him something was off, though he couldn't quite figure out what. "Wait here," he ordered and walked back to his car. Elon shoved his hands in his pockets and looked up at the rainy sky, where cold droplets gently dripped down. He wondered how long the database check would take and if it was even worth mentioning to the officer that he had a friend in the city police. At that moment, the radio from Hunt's car crackled again. "Central, confirming identity. This is indeed Elon Musk." Officer Hunt turned back and looked at Elon again. Elon smiled. "Maybe now you'll let me go?" Hunt clenched his jaw slightly. "For now, you're staying here. I still have a few questions." Elon grinned slyly. "Well, all right. I'm not in a hurry." Hunt stood silently in the rain, while Elon felt the tension in the air only grow. Officer Hunt stepped closer again, scrutinizing Elon's calm face. The rain was getting heavier, and drops slid down the brim of his cap, falling to the ground with a dull sound. Elon stood with his hands in his pockets, relaxed and almost entertained by the situation, which only irritated Hunt more. "What's your address?" Hunt asked coldly. Elon smiled. "Seriously? You just got confirmation of my identity from Central Command." "It's a formality." Hunt's voice remained even, but there was a shadow of anger in his eyes. "Answer the question." Elon shrugged. "Gotthorn, California." Hunt made a note in his notebook without looking away. "And what are you doing in this neighborhood at 1 in the morning?" "Just driving around." Relaxing, Elon glanced at the officer, his eyes gleaming slyly in the headlights. "Driving around?" Hunt narrowed his eyes. A man named Elon Musk, a billionaire, the owner of Tesla and SpaceX, decided to just take a drive through a residential neighborhood in his car in the middle of the night? Don't you think that sounds suspicious? Elon tilted his head slightly. "What's suspicious about it?" Hunt took a step forward, now less than a meter between them. "Your name might be in the database, but I don't see any reason why Elon Musk would be sitting here in a hoodie, without documents, on a rainy night in this neighborhood." "Maybe I'm just strange?" Elon smiled faintly. Officer Hunt clenched his jaw, his hand slowly moving to his holster. "I think you're hiding something." Elon became more serious. "I'm not hiding anything." "Then why are you nervous?" "I'm not nervous." Your pupils are dilated, your voice raised a bit, I can feel it. Hunt took another step forward, their faces now just a few centimeters apart. "Do you have something in the car I should know about?" Elon raised his hands. "Oh, now I'm a suspect in transporting illegal substances?" "Open the trunk," Hunt ordered sharply. Elon exhaled briefly through clenched teeth. "Are you joking?" "No. Open the trunk, or I'll do it myself." Elon silently looked at Hunt for a few seconds, then slowly walked to the back of the Tesla and swiped his hand across the sensor panel. The trunk opened silently. Inside, there was a neatly folded blanket, a small black bag, and a car charging cable. Nothing suspicious. Hunt stepped up and peered inside. He shone his flashlight on the black bag. "Open the bag." Elon rolled his eyes. "Do you have a warrant?" "I have probable cause," Hunt cut him off. Elon pressed his lips together but lifted the bag and unzipped it. Inside was a laptop and some documents. Hunt looked at the laptop screen, which lit up under his gaze. "What are these files?" "Engineering blueprints," Elon replied. "Engineering blueprints for what?" "Rocket engines." Hunt raised his eyebrows. "You're telling me you carry secret rocket schematics in your bag in the middle of the night in a residential area?" Elon smiled. "This is my job." Hunt pressed his lips together but didn't back down. "I don't believe you." "Well, that's your problem." Elon closed the bag and placed it back in the trunk. Hunt took a step back and ran his hand over the radio. "Central, I want to check the suspect's status for federal warrants and criminal charges." "Suspect?" Island smiled disdainfully. You're acting suspiciously. Inconsistencies in your story. I have the right to detain you until everything is sorted out. Island stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. Officer Hunt, I'd be more careful with accusations like that if I were you. Is that a threat? Hunt placed his hand back on his holster. It's a warning. Island got even closer. Do you really want to get into a conflict with someone who has more resources and influence than your entire department combined? Hunt's eyes flashed with anger. Maybe I'm just doing my job. Island smiled coldly. Then maybe you're not doing it very well. Hunt felt the blood rush to his face. You really think you can just leave here? You think you can detain me without cause? Island threw him a look that made Hunt feel cold inside. Suddenly, the radio crackled again. Central to Officer Hunt. Detaining Elon Musk will be an extremely poor decision. We've received identity confirmation from headquarters. Release him immediately. I repeat, immediately. Hunt froze. His eyes sparked with fury. This isn't over, he hissed. Island smirked arrogantly. I'm sure it's over. He got into the Tesla, and the doors closed silently. The car smoothly pulled away, and Hunt stood in the rain, clenching his fists and watching as the red taillights disappeared into the darkness. Hunt stood, watching as the Tesla disappeared into the darkness, feeling his anger building. He couldn't just let all of this go without consequences. Elon Musk, with his connections, influence, and resources, could just laugh at him, but Hunt wasn't ready to give up. He decided to take action. Clenching his teeth, he sat back in his patrol car and contacted Central. His voice was calm, but there was a hidden pressure behind it. I want this car to be blocked and sent back to my location. This is not just a regular case. I'm sure this man is hiding something. Suddenly, the radio crackled again. Officer Hunt, we've received new instructions. Release Elon Musk. This is a high-level issue. There's no point in continuing the pursuit. Hunt sighed grimly and gripped the radio tightly. His emotions were boiling. He couldn't accept what was happening. At that moment, his car suddenly slammed on the brakes as another vehicle appeared on the road. It was the same Tesla he had just let go. It stopped right in front of his car, and Elon Musk stepped out of the vehicle, moving leisurely. His eyes glowed with cold confidence. You don't understand, officer. Elon raised his hand to stop Hunt, who had already started getting out of his car. I don't like being questioned about my affairs without cause. You're insulting me, and I won't tolerate that. Hunt stopped midway, his heart pounding with anger and tension. He didn't like how Elon behaved as though he were invincible. All these high-paid companies, connections, and influence, it all revolved around one man who disrespected the law but had nothing to lose. Do you think I'm afraid of your connections? Hunt replied through gritted teeth. You still don't get it, Elon. This isn't about your status. This isn't about your money. You've broken the law, and I will arrest you. Elon didn't change his expression. If you arrest me, officer, you'll break even more laws. You wouldn't want that, would you? It'll be hard to explain why you decided to do this after everything I've already said. That's no longer your concern, Hunt said. His voice was sharp, and there was anger in his eyes. I have reasonable grounds. Your drawings are just part of the problem. Do you have the right to arrest me? Elon asked with a cold smile. Because I don't think you have any grounds for that. Hunt threw the note with his notes aside and looked Elon in the eyes. He could barely contain his rage. Yes, I'm prepared to prove this in court, and you'll answer for your actions. If you have something to hide, I'll find out. Elon took a step back to his car, his voice calm and soft, as if this were all just a simple game. If you don't want this to become a major problem for you, I suggest you let me go now. You don't understand who you're dealing with. Hunt couldn't shake the growing feeling that this was no coincidence. Elon stood before him, confident and calm, as if this wasn't a real conflict, but just another phase of a game he'd been winning from the start. "I'm not afraid of you," Hunt replied, trying to control his fury. Elon gave him one last look before getting into the car and driving off. He quickly disappeared into the night, leaving behind only the quiet and the anger that pulsed in Hunt's heart. The officer clenched his fists again, staring at the empty road, and felt that this story was far from over. Elon Musk turned his car around and disappeared into the night, leaving behind an empty road and an ever-growing sense of helplessness for Hunt. The officer stood still, feeling his heart beat faster and his anger building up from within. He knew he couldn't leave things at this point. This encounter couldn't just end like this. The officer returned to his car, but the incident made him reconsider everything that had happened. The strange circumstances, the mysterious instructions, the unclear orders, everything seemed to add up to some dangerous game where he was just a pawn. Elon Musk was clearly more than just a wealthy businessman. He was a high-stakes player, and Hunt was only beginning to realize the depth of this challenge. The officer knew he would have to act carefully. And if he wanted to understand what was really going on, he needed more than just following orders. He contacted Central again, and his voice was firm. "I want to open a case on this incident. Leave it open. And don't give me orders like that again. I'll handle this myself." The radio in the car crackled softly, and after a few seconds, they responded. "Understood, officer. But you need to know this might be too much for you. You're up against very serious people." "I'm ready for anything," Hunt replied, putting the radio back in place. Meanwhile, Elon Musk had already returned to his business, paying no attention to what he had left behind. In his world, people like Hunt simply didn't exist. This wasn't just a game, it was a battle for power. And Hunt was only beginning to understand that in this fight, he wasn't alone. But one thing he already knew for sure, he wouldn't back down. Even if this challenge turned out to be harder than he could have imagined.